crypto? Got a hardware wallet to keep your crypto safe? Then you have to have one of these to keep your seed phrase safe. The KEYSTONE tablet is fireproof, waterproof. You can use it to store 12-word, 18-word, 15-word, 24-word seed phrases. It comes with a full set of letters and everything you need to make sure that your seed phrase never gets destroyed or disappeared. Get one, get two, get three, have multiple copies. Use my affiliate link in the description below.
NordVPN is becoming more than just a VPN. Threat protection will guard your device against malicious websites, malware, trackers, and intrusive ads, even if you're not connected to a VPN server at the time. Step up your cybersecurity and stay safe.
Why have you become a fan of Odyssey?
It was quite simple. It was really tied back to the conversation that opened our discussion up in Barcelona. It was really based on the fact that for so long I've been getting really peeved at the YouTube thing where you have to be watching their adverts every 2 minutes or paying the money to get rid of it, which it reminds me of a Black Mirror episode a few years ago, the Charlie Brooker stuff, when he was depicting a world in which we all compete for credits that then allows us to either switch the adverts off or receive more money in return for watching more adverts. And I just thought when I saw Odyssey, I thought, why have we not had this sooner? Why was I not aware of it? So really it became a question more of not knowing. It was a question of like, do I want to watch it? Yes, the answer was always yes, but I didn't have the knowledge. So you imparted that knowledge, and ever since I've been using it. So it was quite a simple transition for me. Anything that empowers the people and empowers ourselves to have the knowledge and the tools. It was a good talk you gave on censorship, and I kind of loved the content. I loved the audience participation element of it. Very, very pertinent in today's society, and especially in the world that we reside in Web3 and crypto and everything that goes with it. I think the whole general theme of that evening was privacy. So censorship really had a big part to play. So thank you for that.
Well, you're so welcome. It was great to meet you in Barcelona. And it is that Odyssey is censorship resistant, and YouTube's doing so much more censorship. What is it they said that they're not going to, they're shadow banning Robert F. Kennedy, candidate for running in, prospective candidate in the US election. What? And he's not broken any laws or anything like that. But then people find out.
Yeah, it's regardless of your political stance or your sort of preconditioned notions of what you think is right and wrong, to not even give someone the chance to speak is where I have an issue. And we can go in. I don't want to go off on a tangent before we start, and we can go into the depths of what censorship really means and where do we draw the line. But on that very kind of simple, basic level, allowing someone to open their mouth and speak, especially when we're talking politicians and people that represent a demos or a kratos, it makes no sense to sort of subjugate them to censorship. So yeah, I'm not surprised that we're starting to see these platforms emerge, and also that's why we're seeing blockchain technologies starting to emerge and people trying to do that in our world, which is kind of why we gave birth to Serenity Sheild, actually.
Okay, well look, why don't we do it this way, right? Thank you so much for that. With this informal start, not how I said it was going to go at the beginning of the recording, right? But you two are both from Serenity Sheild. I'll introduce you properly in a second. But this is really good. You should please subscribe to me on Odyssey, bit.ly/CryptoRichOdyssey, censorship-resistant platform. Email sign up. You don't have to do any KYC or anything, and you can earn cryptocurrency for watching videos. Did you know that, Nikos? You can earn cryptos if you register, and you also
watch to earn
my channel and then get notifications when I put out a video. And I post more stuff on Odyssey than I do on YouTube. And also follow me on Twitter, CryptoRichYT, and join my official Telegram announcements channel. And Nikos and Venket, you are both team members for Serenity Sheild. And Serenity Sheild is a project that's born out of the ever-growing, ever-wonderful Cosmos ecosystem. Okay, so let's start. So what is Serenity Sheild?
Well, I'll happily get it started, and we'll go from there. So first of all, to introduce myself more formally, I'm Nikos. I am the head of marketing and communications with the team at Serenity Sheild. And really, back to that point when we're talking about censorship and the emergence of technologies, one of the problems that we saw in the space, and one of the things that we wanted to give back to the people, was empowerment and taking control of ourselves, our information, our data. And we realized that with the potential of blockchain technology that exists in the world today, And through bad experiences that we shared through different kind of strategies and approaches that we had in the cryptocurrency blockchain space, we realized collectively as a group, having shared the journey together, that there was a change required in the space, especially through the decentralized technology. And really, to be honest, Rich, it's all in the name, Serenity Sheild. We saw the space as something that was very hectic, very chaotic, energetic, I think being the core of what it was. And we realised that round about us, through the various forums, the groups that we participated in, the individuals that we met along the way, that it was all very rampant, and they really needed a bit more calm and a bit more stability back in their kind of journey through cryptocurrency and blockchain and Web3. And the shield element was what we wanted to provide them with. A calming shield before that they equipped themselves, before they went into the space, before they started doing anything, that they were equipped with something of stability and security that governed their next steps into the space. And it's why we gave birth to Serenity Sheild as a project. So, I mean, in essence, the problem that we are looking to solve, which is what this is all about, is the problem of centralized data ownership and the lack of decentralized inheritance protocols to protect against the loss of initially what was seed phrases and data for digital assets, which is now, as we'll explore as we go through the call, which has now become more about data, more generally speaking, not just seed phrases, not just one element of our data, but more holistically looking at the legacy and the footprint that we leave behind as individuals when we operate online, when we do anything, we're leaving that footprint, and we are looking to try and educate our community and the wider audience and provide them with the tools necessary to equip themselves to handle that problem. Okay. I'm sure Venket will like to perhaps elaborate on that as well and give more about the vision behind that.
Yeah. Now, I just want to get, is it, because this is what I thought it was, it's a project that allows me to hand over, to create, it creates a particular structure that allows for my seed phrases to be handed over to my inheritors or something in a way that's secure. But you're saying more than that now.
When you take the concept of a seed phrase, what is seed phrase? It's binary, it's a piece of code, it's data, it's information. So by creating our proprietary technology, which was the Strongbox decentralized application, we came to the realization that actually what we're protecting here is not seed phrase, it's data, it's information. So right. Why restrict the user to just simply protect through our technology a seed phrase when they can do it with so many other aspects of their life, whether it be an audio file, a picture file, confidential documentation that they may then wish to transport into the future if they're no longer here. And the way the world's been doing this is they've been shifting this problem for a long time now from the Web3 space back to hardware and looking at Web2 type technologies to solve what is inherently a Web3 problem. It's a blockchain problem, and what we wanted to do was use blockchain technology to solve a blockchain problem, which is how we came to the technology Strongbox. Okay.
Venket, anything you want to add to that?
Yes. So, I'm Venket. I'm the CEO of Serenity Sheild. So I wanted to sort of give my approach towards this whole subject of privacy and security, right? Because I'm not a crypto guy. I'm a Web2 guy coming from a corporate world. I've been in the Web2 corporate world for the last 25 years or so. So I don't consider myself to be a crypto guy. So why did I come to blockchain space and Web3 space? It's just because of, I thought this technology is offering such a huge, immense potential. And I wanted to create that digital bridge or a digital gateway between the Web2 and the Web3 world, right? So that's why when we started Serenity Sheild as a concept, probably we may have started as you rightly said, it's a matter of one is a reality, other one is a perception, right? People probably might have perceived this as somebody providing or enabling the users to just store a seed phrase. No, that's not what we are anymore, because we have evolved ourselves into completely something different. So fundamentally what I can say, and I also wanted to touch base one more aspect here, because you see, I think it's very important to create the right context in the background. With the internet evolution, right, with the dominance of the so-called tech giants in the Web2 space, privacy for a common user is only a myth, it's not a reality. I think we all know that, right? So that's why people like me, we came into this space because we wanted to offer that real privacy to the global user to empower him, which he really deserves which he has been denied until now, right? So that's why people like me, we are jumping into the blockchain space and how to use the core fundamental aspects of blockchain, which are like decentralization, self-custody, autonomy, ownership. So we are going to put all these principles together and offer, I would say, infrastructure, or rather a full ecosystem of privacy and security, because it's just not going to be one particular application or one particular aspect of an application. What we are targeting here to achieve is the full ecosystem or infrastructure of privacy and security using the fundamental principles of decentralization, autonomy, ownership, etc. So this is just not going to be only for the Web3 space. It is also going to be transporting the Web2 guys to use this solution under Web3, and we are going to act as a bridge between the two worlds. And that's fundamentally is a philosophy. And as a CEO, that's what I'm driving this project towards too.
Okay, thank you both. This is much bigger than I thought it was. I'm like, oh my god, how am I going to get down this one, right? If I'm just a regular user, I'm a crypto guy, I want to find out, well, what do I do with this? What can I do with this as just an ordinary person, because I thought, yeah, great, I can store my seed phrases, and in the event of my death, and my wife or my children are able to access them. But no, you're saying, no, I can store a whole lot of other data, like it could be photographs and mementos and possibly birth certificates and passports and stuff like that. And then my children will have access to that in the event of my death. But you're saying, Venket, that it's something else as well, the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
Okay, so what other possible applications could there be? Are you thinking about?
So, of course, it's, as Nikos mentioned, it's also about storing any form of digital data, because we also have to consider that the whole universe is moving towards a digital universe, right? Because I think it's not a matter of if, it's just a question of when a common guy has to get used to this digital future or a digital universe, right? Even now the CBDCs are getting launched, central bank digital currencies are going to come into play. So everybody has to start to learn the adoption of digital format of data. Right? So that's why when we talk about digital data, it could be anything. It could be audio file, text file, PDF file, of anything of that sort. So we thought it's a fundamental responsibility to offer a decentralized storage platform so that the common users can use any of the digital data. Right? It doesn't have to be a binary file or a text file, because he's going to have hell a lot of digital data which is going to be in his possession, which he might want to do whatever he might want to do with it. So that's why we thought that we should enhance our solution so that it's able to accommodate any form of digital data. That's number one. And what we are working towards too is not only about for a personal user, we are also targeting the B2B users, because I'm coming from a hardcore Web2 background, because most of the businesses today under a multi-user environment, they are storing their data either in their own private RAID system, or they are storing it in an Amazon or a Google or a third-party service provider, right? Which has its own pros and cons, and that has a lot of limitations too. So we probably are also working towards that solution, which I believe is going to be launched much earlier than what I thought it would be, because we are very much near to it, in the sense that we will also provide a storage platform where businesses can store their confidential and sensitive data on-chain with 100% self-ownership and self-custody. And if we are able to successfully do that within our Strongbox ecosystem, I'm assuming that probably we will be one of the first one to do that, and it will be a groundbreaking thing that businesses can store their data on-chain within our ecosystem.
Right. Okay. Now you're saying if you do that, once you launch it, you'll be one of the first. But isn't this done by projects like Jackal that recently launched in the Cosmos ecosystem, Filecoin, storage? There are others that offer decentralized storage. What's so distinct about yours?
Yeah, Jackal is, if I may sort of put it in the right manner, it's a non-IPFS storage solution, but they don't let you to store your DMSs and LMSs. Because
DMSs and LMSs? What are they?
DMS is a data management system and LMS is a library management system.
Nikos, are you amused by my lack of...
It's great. I'm enjoying the flow. Man.
Yeah, I did say I don't work from a script. I didn't know. I wouldn't have asked you about DMSs and LMSs. What are they? So please go on. Data management systems.
Yeah, DMS is data management system and LMS is library management system. Again, I'm coming to a very fundamental point here. Why do you want to store your data? Right? It's just not about preservation of data. Finally, everybody wants to have a monetization. Right? So you want to monetize your data, for which you need a digital repository. right? Which requires a certain amount of indexing, searching, retrieval, metadata, etc., etc. All those are being done at different levels. At data management system probably I would say is a starting level, and library management systems are much more advanced than DMSs. So you need to have a specialized on-chain storage platform to be able to store your DMSs and LMSs, which I believe is not available in the current solutions that you're talking about. Probably there are some which will be coming up. I'm not saying it's absolutely none, but to what I have seen, I have not seen it yet in the way that we want it to be. So we are also trying to put it within our ecosystem, because you see, like as you said, it's not about, when I'm going to talk about DMSs and LMSs, it's not something I want to speak Greek and Latin, that I want to be too technical that people don't understand. What I'm trying to do here is to just tell people that our solution is just not about storing seed phrase. This is point number one. And point number two, if you want to transport the Web 2 world into the Web 3 world, it cannot be complete without targeting the businesses and enterprises, because the personal users alone cannot fulfill this purpose of combining the Web 2 and the Web 3 world. You need to target the businesses as well. And businesses, what do they want? They just don't want to only preserve their data, they have to monetize their data. How do they monetize their data? Is by putting that in a DMS or an LMS. So when you're going to provide a solution on chain for businesses to enable to store their DMSs and LMSs, I believe that too in the format that we are going to do, in a user-friendly manner that we are going to do, I think we'll be one of the first putting all these things together.
Okay, I got it. That makes sense. And I can see the appeal for retail investors, for individual people, but also the much larger need for corporates, because then they can keep their data secure, they own it, they get to access it, and then they can monetize it. Which, given that this is the world of crypto, you're going to have a token. There is a token. Yes?
Yes. I let Nikos, my friend, to talk about the token.
Right. Okay.
Well, I think firstly, just touching on that last point as well, Rich, when you're talking about the other projects and technologies that exist out there that are working in the same field, I'm a believer that we need to have as many solutions as possible. Yes. There's no one size fits all. There's no one solution that will necessarily be better than the next. That's why we have so many examples of products within various sectors that replicate one another, but also do it a little bit differently. And that could come down to the UI. It could be simple as the way the interface looks and feels. But generally speaking, we do, as an industry, have a long way to go anyway, that we're at such a small adoption rate at the moment. If that number increases, we're going to need each other as much as we need our own solutions. We're going to need to tap into other providers there as well. And working as a consolidator, as we pride ourselves on being with other technologies, which we will get into as we elaborate, that's very important for the space. And I'm hoping that we see more of that. And it's back to what I said at the top of this call. One of the things that brought us into the technology in the first place was seeing the chaos that existed initially 3, 4, 5 years ago when we all started joining from the Web 2 space, and realizing that a lot of the products and services that blockchain was offering wasn't real life need use cases. It was necessity is the mother of invention, and I think that's what gave birth to Serenity Sheild and people like Filecoin and people like Jackal, that we're now seeing that the emergence of the technology is allowing us to create these necessary solutions that we need in our life. But moving on from that, and I guess getting back to your question on the Search token, we will have a token that governs our ecosystem as well. The native token that will govern this project will be the Search token. So the Serenity Sheild project will be governed by the Search token. We will be going for our full launch this summer. It's been a bit of a process coming through a bear market, building a technology first. We wanted to do things, I guess, in a different way to what we had become accustomed to. And rather than tapping into the community to fund our project and fund everything we were doing, we had very, very small rounds of pre-sales and private sales, for the reason that we were bringing the technology first, and we wanted to show the market that we were predominantly self-funded, not entirely, but that we felt the technology was the most important part of this project first and foremost, before we then come and ask people to join us on a journey, asking them to buy into a promise, which is what I had become accustomed to, which is what so many people became accustomed to, and then you find that people were no longer there was nothing left behind, and the money was spent on advertising and whatever else. So we actually wanted to do this in reverse and build the credibility in our brand, which is my job at Serenity Sheild as a marketer here, trying to get people interested in data storage and get them excited about that side of the world is not the easiest job. But
it's not the most glamorous. It's not the most glamorous of sectors.
It's not, but it's so exciting because what you're talking about is empowering individuals. So the part that becomes central to that is education. That's certainly a big piece of what we try and do consistently, and we're stepping that process up all the time. So yeah, the way that the application will work, it will be payment for service through our native token search. So to actually utilise and subscribe for the service, again, we're keeping costs to a bare minimum on this. We're still figuring out the final details of how that will work. But the whole premise of decentralisation and empowering the user is that we're trying to make this as accessible to as many people and as affordable as possible. And through our native token, we believe this gives us the most powerful position to do so. And also we have future plans with new technologies and new products where that will then join up and make our whole ecosystem more cohesive through our search token at the centre of all of that ecosystem.
Okay. Now, will you be doing a token sale or an airdrop or a bit of both or something else entirely?
So we have got planned. We have not been. We've not fully revealed the details of how that will work, but we have made an agreement with a very large launchpad that will be helping bring an IDO to the space. In fact, Venket, this is probably a good point for you to elaborate on the details there. And we'll be then moving towards an exchange listing of the token as well to make that token as accessible as possible. And actually, this is where we want people to understand the premise of an exchange in the past, the way I've came to understand in this environment, has been to try and create as much hype as possible for a token. To be a speculative asset and just drive the price up as quickly as possible. For us, adoption of our service is governed by the ability to pay in search token. That means that we have to get that token into the hands of as many people as possible. And not everyone uses the same platforms. Not everyone uses the same decentralized exchanges. Not everyone uses the same centralized exchanges. So through time, our ambition and our goal will be to make this as accessible as possible on as many platforms as we possibly can. And it is a multi-chain solution. It is intended to go cross boundaries. It's intended to go over borders. So that will also show with our launch strategy and what we intend to then do after the launch strategy, which will then be tapping into new exchanges and new places where people can access the token to allow them to then access the service and that we're providing.
Okay. And Venket, what can you tell us about the IDO and the launch? And then also, when will the application itself launch?
Yeah, so let me first talk about the application. So as far as the application is concerned, we are right now at the stage of mainnet. So the product is at the mainnet stage, and we are doing all the internal sort of checking, and we will be audited by Hacken, who is one of the topmost audit companies in the space. And then we will bring it to the community, so the community can come and test the mainnet and so on and so forth. And once, probably in the due course of time, it will be really coming out into the market. That's the roadmap in terms of the product. In terms of our tokens, I think I wanted to add, if I may here, you see, why do we have a token? Because sometimes people ask us, you're providing a solution, you're providing a service, why do you need a token at all, right? That's the kind of question that we are being asked in several sort of platforms, etc. So I'm always saying two things to them. One, a token is a kind of mechanism by which you connect yourself to the Web3 space, or the sort of the so-called space that you're in. So it's a kind of a vehicle. Tokenization is a vehicle by which you get connected to this space. That's point number one. And point number two, as Nikos said, we are not trying to create a derivative or a speculative financial instrument. That's not really our intention, because our product and services are going to be paid by the tokens, in which case the token should have a monetary value, right? So, and that monetary value for the token can be given only when they are going to be listed either in a centralized or decentralized exchanges, because at the end of the day, we want as many people to sort of adopt our solution and start using the tokens to pay them, in the sense that we are not creating any inflationary token model. We are essentially creating a utility-based deflationary token model. I think that's very important for the market people to understand. That's what we are trying to create in terms of a token. In regard to the launchpad, we are still assessing the market, you see, because we are still in probably the end of the bear market, etc. Assuming that things are going to bounce back, I'm assuming that we will have our centralized exchange listing by end of September, probably with some of the top tier exchanges in the world, which 3 weeks before we will have our IDO launchpad activities, we have already signed up an agreement with VLaunch, which is run by Chris of Crypto. So Chris of Crypto and Mo, they both they own VLaunch, and VLaunch is one of the platforms that is going to drive our IDO. Again, why do we do this IDO? It's not because we are trying to create an investment pattern or a fundraising. No, we are essentially doing these IDOs to have a community growth, both off-chain and on-chain. So fundamentally, we are creating that community growth strategy by involving with such IDO launchpad platforms, and also by involving the KOLs, because at the end of the day, to get the KOLs to come and participate is also an essential component in the overall strategy. So we get involved with those IDO launchpads, address everything to the community. We get some KOLs on board to talk about the project, and then we go for a centralized exchange listing by end of September. By that time, our product would have gotten settled in the market. People might start to adopt and use it. So there's going to be a soft landing where we launch the token, the product adoption will start to increase, and more people would want to buy the token from these outlets to use the token in our product and services. So we want to merge these two in a way to have a soft landing, which will all happen post our listing in September. So October, November, December timeframe, I would say, is the most crucial period where our tokens will have to have a monetary value, and our product adoption will also start to increase in the marketplace.
Okay. And then on the product adoption, what are you going to do to I can get how you're going to reach out to individuals who want to use the platform. That's pretty easy through Odyssey, and I know all the outlets that are common currency for crypto projects. But what about for corporates? How will you get the word out to corporates?
Yeah, because since I'm coming from a hardcore Web2 background, I've been doing this for so many years now. So we do have a go-to-market strategy about how to reach out to the corporates, to the institutions and businesses across the world in different geographies and jurisdictions. So that will be a very exclusive go-to-market strategy, which is going to be very different from what we are going to do on the crypto space, on the B2C space. So we have an exclusive go-to-market strategy to talk. See, because at the end of the day, as you can understand, if I'm a business, I've been storing my data somewhere in my own server on a Google or a cloud. If somebody has to come and sit with me to convince me to start to store my sensitive data on chain, that itself is a big task. It's not going to be easy, right? It's because I have to convince a business owner to tell him, please come and store some of your most sensitive and confidential data on chain with me. Right? So that will require an enormous amount of convincing, enormous amount of things to show. So, we can't detail all that in such a short conversation, but we do have an exclusive go-to-market strategy to target the businesses, the enterprises, and the institutions to convince them to come and store their data with us on chain.
Right. Okay. Which is, I suppose, where the education would come in, because they need to learn about blockchain, and also it needs to be competitive. Because if I'm, a small company, I'm not going to stop using AWS unless there's a significant competitive advantage to using your service. So is that something that you'll be able to offer?
Yes, of course. Yes, Nikos.
I was going to say there, Venket, just to demonstrate, I suppose, how that might look. We've one of the examples tying back into your last question and leading on to this point now. It's really a full cohesive approach, and I'm glad you've asked the question that way, because the way we thought about the strategy from day one was that you do have to have both together. There's the chicken and egg, but there's also two parts that have to work in tandem, and it's the education, but also having the corporate strategy to go to market and bring those customers on board that are going to understand. There's certain USPs that they're going to have to be sold on, I guess. There's going to have to be something different and more unique about your product. And the two key areas that really do stand out, especially when it comes to storage for business, is security and affordability. Now, and to demonstrate an example of how we're achieving that already as we're working towards a solution, through our kind of ongoing partnerships. One of the partnerships that we announced, maybe I think probably 8-9 weeks ago now, was with a Web2 company called Contentra Technologies, an American-backed company that are based actually in India, in Venket's stomping ground. They are a company that for the last 15 years have taken paper files and digitized them. And some of their clients have included places like the Library of National Library of Netherlands, Time Out Magazine, National Geographic, where they would have taken historic information, journals, paper, archive files, digitized that and stored it on cloud. And they have partnered with us, I guess, on two verticals is the way I look at it, as a kind of long-term approach. On one hand, they're looking to find a better place to do that archival storage, where you're putting stuff that does not have to be recalled every single day, and you're looking to try and optimize your cost. You're trying to look for the best place to store that safely, but also affordably, and you're not having to have that everyday recovery. But on another side, they can also, and this is where that sort of business philosophy comes in, and where we're thinking, they can also help us upsell that service to clients who don't have access to it at the moment. So there's a holistic taking clients at the moment who need to digitize that information and then also have that stored on chain on the back of it. So it's a much more holistic package that Contentra can help us with. And it's through partnerships like that with Contentra where we see that blockchain technology has a real opportunity and a real viable future. I think also alongside that, one of the other areas that we are priding ourselves in and looking into in more depth is at the government and local government office level. You'll probably be aware that the British government last year, towards the tail end of last year as an example, they passed a bill through Parliament where they have stated they want to explore using blockchain technology for data storage for government as well. And we recently onboarded Yanis Chrysopoulos, who is a senior policy advisor to the Hellenic Parliament. He's a Greek politician who is very, very eager to push blockchain technology into society as a whole to give back empowerment to the people and really leverage the benefits of blockchain and what we can do there. And I think these strategies and these types of relationships are showing that the world around us is changing. People are starting to wake up to the realization that there is cryptocurrency and then there's blockchain technology. And while they exist together, they're not the same thing. And we should be celebrating the fact that we have a good, strong technology on our hands. It's now up to us to use that tool for the purpose it was created and actually give ourselves back something that we should be happy about and evolve the existing technologies we have with the current blockchain paradigm. And it's really, for me, it's an evolution. It's not a revolution that we should be looking for. And I guess to finalise this point, I'm going to hand over to Venket, because to bring this full circle back to the education piece, we're doing a lot of work in India as, I guess, our grassroots and where we're looking to get started with education. And I'll let Venket explain how we're tapping into that market and what our plans are there.
Yeah, so, we are going to launch our academic vertical out of India. I would say, which better place could be, more than India, to launch such a education vertical. So our academic vertical will have primarily two components. One component is to sort of educate the common public, the government institutions about digital currencies, digital assets, and so on and so forth. So that is in terms of educating general public and also businesses overall. That's one component of the academic vertical. And the other component of the academic vertical is we are going to have accredited, certified courses to create full stock blockchain developers. Because I'll tell you why it's also equally important. Because when you're talking about education, educating the general public is one, but for any technology to grow and evolve, you need to push sort of the young generation to learn and start to adopt the technology, which is what probably the Microsofts and the other tech giants of the world did in the 1990s. So to say, you have to go to the grassroots level and make the students to learn a certain technology for that technology to grow, right? So today, if you look at the educational space of blockchain developers and blockchain engineers, it's not a structured area. Everybody is doing some practical courses. They're getting into projects and doing some stuff on their own, but there is not a proper structure where such courses are certified or accredited in a big way. So that's why we thought that we have a social incentive to do that. One is to generate the common public and also to create such fully accredited, structured blockchain developers course where we create those blockchain developers and engineers for the future who might take this whole concept of blockchain technology to a different dimension towards empowerment, towards the digital universe, right? So, that's the legacy that we would want to create. And it's an initiative we would start with India. Obviously, it's not going to stop with India only. It's just a launch pad, being one of the most populous countries where we have a huge percentage of young population below the age group of 35. So we would want to target those individuals to learn and adopt blockchain technology. And obviously, after India, we have plans to sort of take this courses and the academic vertical to the other geographies of the world as well. So education for us plays such an important role within our overall ecosystem.
Right. Okay. Well, that's quite an undertaking. And I can see how it all fits in. I want to move this on to the actual technology without getting too technical, because I'm not technical, you're not technical. So you've got this strong box, and you say it's decentralized, and you say it's private and secure.
Yeah. So I let Nikos to explain, and if there are any gaps, I will jump in. Nikos,
Well,
please.
Nikos has just dropped off the call. I don't know if he was having any problems with his internet. So Venket, this will be you now.
Okay.
If you can, but you can keep it simple, because the way I look at it, I don't know how a car engine works. I don't know how a fridge works. I know how to use them. I don't need to know the details and ins and outs. I just need to know how to use the fridge and how to drive the car. So
Yeah.
just in simple terms, Nikos, thank you. And Venket may refer to you for this. You feel free to answer. How do you store the data in this strong box? How is it decentralized? How is it secure and private? Without getting too technical.
Yeah, because that's why I give it to Nikos, because if I start, it would become too technical. So that's why I give.
Sorry, first of all, I think I'm back with you. I dropped
Yes.
off for a few seconds. Unfortunately, I lost signal. Modern technology and all that. Yeah, I think what Venket said, look, let's keep it relatively high level view for the purpose of the walkthrough. And the way I like to explain or try and illustrate how Strongbox would work is to just give a very basic step-by-step guide. So the user experience was designed and has been designed. Sorry, Rick.
Share your screen, would that help? Or do you just want to talk through it?
Was it not work? I don't have the demo prepared ready for you, but I'm happy.
No problem.
I'll tell you what we will do is let's do a revisit as well, and I'd like to do like a demo session as well,
Sure,
which would be
sure.
useful.
That would be
But
great.
for the purpose of today's narrative, we do have some tutorials online as well that we can share. We're working on a couple of other things at the moment as well, with educational materials. So happy to share that with the community and anyone who would like to know more. But for the purpose of this, we'll keep it short and sweet. The user would effectively come to our user-friendly decentralized application by connecting a compatible DEX multi-chain DApp wallet via our Serenity Sheild website.
Let me break that up. So I would connect, say, a Kepler or a MetaMask wallet or something like that to your application. Okay.
So they would do that. First of all, they would create a unique account with their own information to obviously register their details on the platform. That would then, once they go through the various basic steps, connecting the wallet and everything they've had to do to create the account, they would then be greeted with our application. And really, for the purpose of trying to visualize it, if you've ever used something like QuickBooks, it looks like a very intuitive, very easy to use Web 2 type application that we're all accustomed to and used to. So at that stage, the user would have various options, and they can create their own personal Strongbox in there. And within that Strongbox, they're then prompted on a tablet. If you picture it that way, it's got like 12 little stones or 24 little stones, if we're talking about a seed phrase here, that they can put their seed phrase in, so there's sensitive information. That information would then be encrypted, sent to Secret Network, who we're using as the layer 1 to store the private smart contract. So that encrypted information would go to Secret Network, so it would leave encrypted before it even arrives in the smart contract. It would be encrypted information that arrives there. That information is then further encrypted on the secret side, turned into a viewing key. That viewing key is then returned to our platform, where it is fragmented into 3 pieces. So the viewing key is split into 3 pieces. And those pieces of information are stored on individual NFTs. So the way I like to visualize it in my head is I think of the old Swiss bank with the little vault. Yeah. There's 2 or 3 keys to open those boxes. So to recover access to the box, there's a combination of 2 out of 3 NFTs that is required. So visualize it as A or B plus C. So you require key 1, key 2 with key C to open it. And the way that would work is that key C, or a third key, would stay with Serenity Sheild, and our vault that will eventually be chosen by AI. So there'll be a vault storage where we don't know where that is residing. Key number 1 stays with the owner of the account or the creator of the smart contract, and key number 2 is intended for a benefactor or a nominee of the information that you would like to pass on should something happen to you. And the way that is governed, it is set by a time lock just now. That is the version 1 that we have of the protocol, where the smart contract will be governed by time, and that's completely customizable. So the user can log back in, they can change that information, they can edit that information. examples that they have to genuinely consider could be something like a divorce in a family where a man and woman no longer want to live together. The husband has nominated his wife to inherit his information. He has the ability to change that as long as it is within the parameters of time that he has preset. And there's various layers to how we then go through the notifications, which we can delve into if you wish. But have you got any questions before we go further on that?
No, I got it. So it's split into, so the data's encrypted into the strongbox, could be my secret. And then it goes over to the secret network and it's encrypted again. And Secret Network is a private, privacy-focused ecosystem within Cosmos, and Serenity Sheild is part of the Secret Network ecosystem. And then it gets split into 3 parts, and it's stored.
The viewing key for the smart contract.
Gets taken out of that, right? And then that's split into 3 parts, and is stored in with 3 different holders.
3 different holders, effectively. So rather than storing this information on hardware or on a drive somewhere that can be manipulated, it's stored in an NFT that is then kept in an individual wallet.
Okay, all right. Now, and you just need 2 out of those to recover the data. 2 out of those. Now, isn't there a counterparty risk in this process? So one is I'm entrusting my seed phrase to an online application, which I'm told is secure. So there's that somebody else is holding the viewing key or part of it. What's the securities you've got against that?
So the way that this would work is that no one person on their own can recover the information. The owner still requires Serenity's piece as well of that puzzle. So when you're talking about the risk that exists, are you talking about it from that side, or are you talking about it from the smart contract side that exists with Secret Network?
First, so for example, the viewing key, let's deal with this one, right? The viewing key is with me for my data, so I can access it as well, right? With my wife in the event of my death, and then with Serenity Sheild, with the application. Yes?
Yes, yes.
So Serenity Sheild would either need my key as well, or my wife's key as well.
Yes.
I suppose that deals with that because Serenity Sheild can't act on their own.
No, and also your wife's key, for example, is inactive. It's an inactive key. It will only work after the time lock triggers in the smart contract. So that would take care of that piece.
And I can set the time lock myself.
We can't collude, to answer your question, we can't collude with that third party. Like that, let's call them a third party for the purpose of this. You could nominate that to a charity for all we know. You don't even know them. We can't collude because that is locked, and this is where it's the customizable feature of you controlling your own information.
Okay, then my next question is to do with the smart contract and then entrusting that data with you in the first place, right? Now, I know you're saying you're going to get it audited by Hacker, but how do I know there aren't any backdoors that you've created? Is your technology open source? Or not?
So to answer, let's take that in 2 parts, I suppose. So number one, we don't store the information. We never see the information because it resides in a private contract with Secret Network. That's where the information goes, that encrypted information. In terms of the backdoor, now you can look at this from 2 points of view. I know there's a lot of people who want to push for open source, and for obvious reasons. We took a very conscious decision very early on to have a proprietary technology, at least to this point, and at least to the foreseeable future, for a number of reasons. The number one inherent reason was to protect our IP, to protect what we've built and protect our hard work and our endeavours because it is a unique product. One of the very first things we've done as an organisation and as a group was to apply for a patent on our technology. So until we reach that point, we would not be comfortable releasing the code publicly. However, for the purposes of understanding that the technology has to be audited through agreements that we have had with auditing companies like Hacken, who have already carried out a smart contract audit, for example, we were more than happy to share, under the terms of a contract, provide them access to that code. So in doing that auditing process, I can actually quite confidently and not confidently is the wrong word, actually happily say that we received a very good score. We had a 10 out of 10 on our security from Hacking on the smart contract, which was very important for given what we are offering. So we will now then proceed to do next rounds of testing. As Venket said, now that we're in mainnet, we're looking to do DApp testing, penetration testing, bug bounty programs. The open source question is not really a question. It's something that we intend to release when the time is right, rather than doing it before we're A, live and B, ready. I think, if I recall correctly, very recently, I think it was through the open source nature Atomic Wallet that they've had a serious breach where user information has been given out.
Wallet's closed source.
Is it close? One of them, and I sorry for using the wrong name because I can't quite remember. It was someone from that ecosystem.
Atomic Wallet. It happened with Atomic. My son lost a lot of money.
I'm sorry to hear that. And this is the stuff that just it's bothers me a lot because I've been there myself. I've been there. I know the feeling. I know that I've went through dark times, and we all have, some of us worse than others, and it's why we need these questions and we need to be doing it. But the open source element will come at a point where we're confident as a project that we've protected our IP, we've trademarked ourselves in all the correct ways, and that all of our auditing, both internally and externally, has been done before we get to that point. But it's a completely valid and fair question. You know, the whole point of don't trust, verify, which is what we pride ourselves on, is exactly this, that people need to be able to verify. So I'm with you on that, and
it's
I support
the whole deal
that.
about crypto. It's all all about open source and stuff. But I suppose you could argue that what you're offering, certainly for businesses, is a whole lot more secure and private and competitive than AWS or Google. Yeah. We know they're using our data, so they have access to it, right? So, and then, okay.
I'll tell you this, and this is true story. 48 hours ago, someone contacted me, I won't say who, from community, someone that I've known for a while, and shared with me, I believe it's Sandeep of Polygon, shared me his phone, shared a screenshot with his phone number saying it is readily available through LinkedIn, through the profile, and this can be obtained for any person that's got an account with LinkedIn. I was absolutely horrified how easy it was. I'm naming names, but this is something that's been exploited now for too long, and these platforms that we've come to trust, and that's why I openly speak about it, because I stand against this stuff. This is why we need these examples to exist, for people to actually start realistically understanding that your information is used. Every time you log into an application, no matter how harmless or careless it seems. You remember FaceApp a few years ago? There was an application called FaceApp it was actually owned by a private Russian company. People were signing the privacy policy because they were so excited about getting to play with their face on this application. They were handing over unknowingly, they were handing over the rights to use their face for the next 50 years or something like, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like crazy number like this, and giving royalties to this company on that information for the next 50 or 60 years, simply by ticking a box. Because who has the time, Rich, to read privacy policies? Who has the time to go through all of this information, consume it, and make a sensible, informed decision? No one does. If we'd done that, we would never agree to anything. So these platforms are leveraging that basic psychology that humans will definitely behave this way. They're leveraging that human behavior and taking advantage of our simple traits to then make their businesses more profitable and make our lives much more predictable. And that predictability of our lives is how information has been sold back to us, and we are not getting the choice to monetize it. They're making it for us. And it's back to what Venket said at the very, very start. Monetizing our information is not necessarily the problem. It's who's getting to make the decision of monetizing that information that is the problem. So that is where I stand on it. I think you can see I'm a maximalist for this stuff, but it's not without its downsides, like you said, cause counterparty risks and open source. And we have to be as responsible as possible as a group. I talk about this as a collective all the time. We owe it to each other to ask the questions, to probe each other for the answers, because that is how we get verification. That is how we reach the point of verification. We shouldn't trust, we can't trust. We have to always get back to Satoshi's initial white paper and the vision of don't trust, verify.
Very good, very good. Thank you. Don't trust, verify. And I can get the advantage that this offers over what's currently available on the market, especially for business customers. And that's where I suppose the project will make the most money. Now, is there anything else you want to let us know before we finish up? And I'll have all the links in the description below so people can go and find out about the project and get connected and follow it.
There's probably lots. So I was thinking, I'm smiling and thinking, I think we should. I would definitely love to do a follow up with you. Maybe someone, one of my colleagues who would be great on this as well would be Justin, to do a showcase of the application when we get to the point past the launch pads and things like that. And in the immediate future, some positive news that we have this week coming is the release of our new website that should be happening within hopefully the next 24 to 48 hours. So there'll be a nice brand new shiny new website, which is also on the back of the fact that we've rebranded, thanks to the help of the guys over at Flight 3, who were previously Zebu. They're local to you. They're a London-based agency. They're the guys responsible for Zebu Digital, the live event that takes place every year. They've got a design branch as well, Flight 3. So they've been fantastic, helping us bring together our philosophies and bring it to life and sort of depict and illustrate our vision. And immediately after that, we have a lot to look forward to that we will be revealing in the coming weeks in the community. There's a lot of good news coming out, and we've had a constant feed of information the last couple of weeks. It's been a good time. I think coming out of a bear market, it was actually great for us because it was a quieter period in terms of community, in terms of growth, but it allowed us to focus on what we wanted to do, strategy, building the product, building the technology. And now, as Venket was saying, we've been really now gradually now focusing towards our roadmap on launch strategy, community growth. And we're seeing that in our audience participation. We're seeing it in our growth numbers. And I guess just please come visit us on Telegram, Discord, all the usual places. You can speak to us. We pretty much have round the clock representation there. We are a diverse team. We are based all over the globe, so we pride ourselves in trying to be as available as possible. So and thank you to you as well, Rich, for giving us this platform to talk about our project.
You're welcome. Look forward to having you on again. And thank you, Venket, and thank you, Nikos. And I think, like I said earlier, I think what you're doing is creating something that has real world use case and business use case, which would hopefully is a harbinger of success, because that's where all the money is, not with the little people like you and I, right? But that's what's going to give the success of the project. And I'll have all the links in the description below. If anybody has any comments or questions, let me know in the description below. And please do follow them. And between now and when I see you next, please keep filling your pockets with crypto profits. This is Crypto Rich and Crypto Nikos and Crypto Venket signing out. All the best. Bye bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Cheers.